or kindness. And it's a charitable act or a gift. And our theme is conscious collaboration. And so the conscious collaboration here with this idea is really learning to collaborate with the spiritual principles and the spiritual laws. And of course, the one that is the most powerful of all of them is giving and receiving. That's the circulation and flow. And you know, you might say, well, I don't know much about it, but really you do, because that's what your body's all about, is circulation and flow. You got your respiratory system with the oxygen coming in and going out, and you got your circulatory system coming in and going out, and then you got your food taken in and the energy and then going out. So everything is circulation and flow. And we really don't understand about circulation and flow, giving and receiving in our body or our physical body until there's a breakdown. Now, if we got a breakdown in our physical body, we got a problem. We've got to get that fixed up somehow. But how about our other body? We're talking about our body of experience. So it is really important to develop a giving consciousness, because ultimately we don't have to worry about what's going to come back, because the law is what you sow you reap, what you give you receive. And you never know when that's going to come or how that's going to come. And so we have to go into this process of giving and receiving with a different kind of an awareness. The awareness is that it's really critical when you are giving of life, okay? When you start receiving, it may not look like the way we think it should. And then what happens is we get wrapped up in the condition and forget about the principle behind it. Dr. Holmes talked about that idea of giving in the Science of Mind on page 151. You've got a little thing here that's really great. He said, "There is a place in us which lies open to the infinite. But when the Spirit brings its gift by pouring itself through us, it can only give to us what we take, or what we can take. This taking is mental. If we persist in saying that life will not give us that which is good, God will not answer my prayer otherwise. It cannot, for life must reveal itself to us through our own intelligence. The pent-up energy of life and the possibility of further human evolution work through man's imagination and will. The time is now, the place is where we're at, and it's done unto us as we believe." So it's really critical to understand how the process of giving and receiving works, and how treatment and focusing in on our next step sometimes brings to us conditions in the physical realm that are very difficult to reconcile. And we say, well, why did that happen to me when I've been doing all this good work and everything like this? And it's everything, I've been doing everything right. How come that's happening to me? How come I'm feeling this way about that stuff happening to me? What's wrong? The answer is nothing. It's right. It's right, because you see, if we are going to step into a new realm of experience, if we are moving ourselves forward, then we can't accept or bring in this new idea unless we make room for it. And that room must be made by releasing and letting go of something old. Now, that could be something physically, it could be something mentally, it could be something emotionally, but it's all a release. So we can't go forward until we're willing to release the status quo, whatever is necessary to release, to break free and to do it. So where the problem comes in is when we're doing the right things and moving forward, and then this other stuff happens. So I can only go best from my own personal experience. That's all I can do from what I learned and how I learned it. So one of my goals for next summer was the end of Anna and I's 10-year travel plan. As the last year, not year 10. We've done everything that we planned for 10 years and exceeded it by 2 or 3 extra trips every year. Okay? So one of my goals for next year was to do a bunch of peaks and passes because I'm going to be 65. And my goal was that when I get home from Italy, I'm going on an intense training program to get myself ready physically for next summer. Okay? Okay, I'm willing to do this, I'm willing, and I got my own mind what it means to get on a training program. However, I got this exercise thing, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do, change that. However, you know, for the past 13 or 14 years, I've been having some problems physically, and I haven't been able to nail it all up. We got into food allergies and other stuff. Well, I ended up having a experience in Italy, got sick and had surgery, and now I'm going back to work starting tomorrow. It's been 3 months, and I got to tell you, I'm feeling better now physically, okay, my physical body, than I have for at least 13 years. So, you know, I did not know that getting in shape to do that next year was going to involve this. But this was necessary in order to get me into the condition that I need there. Now, I could lose that vision and go, oh my God, look what happened to me. Geez, oh, I want to do this, and this happened. No, it's not going to prevent me from doing it. It's going to enhance me from doing it. Although I don't recommend you get your learning that way. There are easier ways to do it. I just didn't find a way for that one. Okay? So it's going through that whole process. And the learning that goes with the process, because this is one of the things that people have a hard time getting. Okay? You gotta get this. You can't have a breakthrough until you have a breakdown. Right? However you want to put it. Because you've got to break down and release the old negative idea and the attachment to it. Well, that's easy. I want to get rid of that bad habit. Anybody try to get rid of a bad habit and have a problem with it? Of course. We all have. And why do we want to get rid of it, and why do we have a bad habit? Because part of it is we don't go about doing it the right way and recognize that whatever we're releasing, we have to release it, and we've got an emotional attachment to it. One way or another, the ego has got attachment to whatever it is. And that has to be broken down and released. And when you release something, doesn't matter whether you're releasing something that is a wonderful experience or just an absolutely horrible experience. When you release, it's leaving the status quo. And the ego has to grieve that release. You have to feel the pain of letting that go. That's the breakdown, because that's the crumbling. Just ask the caterpillar that goes in and weaves the cocoon and then goes through the metamorphosis process, the breakdown of what it was to become what it could be and what it can be, the beautiful butterfly. And while we're going through this, there's always that struggle of trying to focus in on the condition and given the condition power. Why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? I thought my thinking was right. I thought I was on the right track, and look at what happens to me. And do I need to go on? I think we all got the general idea. So that is part of what we go through, but we don't want to give that our energy and attention. Easy to say. What happens when the ego comes up and talks to you like that? Well, right in the middle of this process of going through my surgery, just a few weeks ago, we went through a series with our new landlord who bought the place and gave us a notice to vacate, so we're getting kicked out. And all of a sudden I had said something that he didn't like, and he raised our rent to get us out of there faster by 105% starting on March 1st. And, you know, a guy could go, we live in there 11 and a half years, and he can go into all of this stuff, which I did. That's the human part. You see, we have to understand we got the human part, and the ego's going to resent that, feeling betrayed, wanting to get even, all of those things. And then there's that other part that's feeling extremely vulnerable. And generally, we don't allow ourselves to feel that vulnerability. We run. Okay? There's a lot of different ways of running. Okay? There's all kinds of different ways of hiding from it. So part of the challenge, and say with me, is staying in that vulnerability, giving myself permission to feel that way, also not beating myself up for feeling resentment or revenge or all of that stuff. Realize that that's got a place in the human ego. That's got a place. However, it's valid, the feelings are valid, but yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have to stop and build a condominium and take up residence. Okay? The deal is, you give yourself permission to experience your humanity. You give yourself permission to feel vulnerable, to feel rejected, to feel betrayed. And you give yourself the permission to feel it, because it's valid, and then get on with it. Because staying there is only going to make that grow. That's the breakdown that's necessary in order to have the newness. Now, one of the things I know about life and my journey as I've been going along and continually working at knowing that divine right action takes place in my life, and there's a gradual, orderly, sequential unfoldment into form of the highest and best that I am. Part of that is having the willingness to be able to go through the breakdown to have the breakthrough into the new experience. So in my lifetime, I've had probably a half a dozen really bad years where I've taken some serious issues that happened to me, including this one. All I got to tell you is it's getting easier to handle and I'm in a better position every time, but the process is still the same. So not only did I go through the surgery and all of that, which is a radical change in my own personal being and experience, I also got evicted out of a place that I'd been living in 11 and a half years, which I planned to move from in 3 years anyhow. My plan was to move in 3 years. You see, my time frame and God's time frame are not in alignment here. Why would I be upset that it's happening now when I'm working on the spiritual basis, and God knows it's for me now is the best time, I think later. So the humanness me doesn't want to buy into that. Okay? The humanness doesn't want me to buy into that. I want to be right about I had the right time and this isn't it, if it only could have been that way. So always remember, there's God's time and man's time. And with God's time, you're on an as-need-to-know basis. When you need to know, you will. Not sooner or later. We like to pre-plan a few years down the line, blah, 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 but that don't work that way. Yeah. So when in the middle of the process of the breakdown. However, I got to tell you, when you're in the middle of the process of the breakdown, you do two things. One, you give yourself permission to feel it. All those negative things, feel the feelings, and then stop. And then move over to the affirmative. Okay? So you got to give yourself permission to do that. And then the second thing that's the most important thing in the middle of the breakdown is don't look at why this happened to me. I already tell you why it happened to you. Because you treated for it. You've been working on it, especially those that are on the spiritual journey. Well, I didn't want that to happen. No, you didn't. But you never get to know how it's going to happen. My experience is if you do the right things and look for the gift in it and work with the gift, then it's like walking through a wormhole. You ever see Star Trek where they go through a wormhole and they're catapulted into a different universe? When you do this, the change happens as you step through that wormhole and you're catapulted into a new experience. And for me, it's always been 10 times better than where I was at. Although it doesn't feel very good going through the process. Can you imagine that poor old butterfly? There it is. Hey, I'm a butterfly. I'm beautiful. I got to get out of this mess. It's in this cocoon. So it's struggling to break free of the confines of the cocoon, and along comes somebody, so, oh, let me help that poor little butterfly out, and breaks it. You kill the butterfly. Because it's the strength that it gets from breaking the cocoon that it needs to be able to fly and be the butterfly. Okay? That's why nobody can help you go through the experience. Nobody can feel your feelings for you. Oh, they could give you all the nice words and blah, blah, and that, but that's all it is support. Doesn't do you any good. You've got to do the doing. You've got to go through that experience. And right at the end, at the critical time when it's getting behind you, it's a struggle to break into that new. Because you see, the ego also has no frame of reference for the new, and it's afraid. So there's that struggle to break into the new. That's natural. But at that critical time, we have a tendency to give up. And just go, what's the use? And then we go back in to wallow for a while, and then we start to get ourselves ready to come out again, and we start to get ourselves ready to come out again, and we get to that struggle, and oh, the same old, same old. I won't tell you what I call it, but you can put a main name to it. Here it is again. Okay? So what are we going to do? Give in to the conditions? Or are we going to understand that's a natural part of the process? Do I like what I'm saying today because I'm going through it right now? Absolutely not. I don't like what I'm saying. Okay? In fact, if I had to have a talk with myself after, I would about saying that, because I don't feel that great about it. However, that's how it works, whether I like it or not, whether you like it or not. That is how it works. So it's up to us to decide what we're going to do about it. Robert Bitzert said, I give no power to anything other than consciousness. I give no power to anything other than consciousness. That's where you give your power. Get away from the conditions. Don't give the conditions any power. By allowing your thoughts to get trapped in the conditions, you're giving it power, and that's the seed that we're sowing into the law of giving and receiving, which is impersonal. It'll accept it one way or another. If we say, well, why does this always happen to me? I'm useless, I'm no good, I'm worthless, then it will respond to prove us right. The nice thing about this, folks, is remember, you always get to be right. Okay? The only question is, what do you want to be right about? What do I want to be right about? Paul said in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18, in everything give thanks. He didn't say give thanks for everything. He said in everything give thanks. So the attitude that we want to work with and walk with to receive the beneficence in action is to give thanks in all the things that we do. When you give a donation, give thanks. What the hell should I be thankful for giving a donation? They should be thankful. No, we should be thankful because we've got it to give. You see? So any deed in that, it's not what you can't do or what you can't have. It's all about what you can do and what you can have. And it's about the energy that you put on it. So that's why Paul said that. In all things give thanks. He didn't say give thanks for all things. In all things, in all your actions, enter it with the attitude of gratitude, knowing and being conscious of the principle and law that you're working with and what it is that you're doing. And don't think that, well, just because I didn't kick him in the butt and just thought about it, it's okay. Because a lot of people think if you just think about it and don't do it, it's all right. It's not. Okay? Because the reason why you did it is because you thought about it somewhere along the line. So always remember, it's giving thanks for this philosophy and this teaching and the conscious awareness that you've developed to be able to know that, yeah, this is part of it and I need to feel those feelings, but that's not the truth. The truth is, here's where I'm going with it. And to give thanks that you have the conscious awareness to be able to make that choice and to be able to see that and to be able to do that. And don't matter, you might not have nothing. And you could start the process with nothing. Because all you got to do is find a need to fill it. I remember when I went through a severe burnout 17 years ago and I lost everything I had. Everything. So I was out visiting a friend and his wife out in the Okanagan. I had nothing. I got out there, but I had nothing. What could I do? I found a need and I gave it. I said, okay, I'm staying with you. I'm going to cook you and your wife dinner every day so it'll be on the table when you get home from work and do the dishes. Then I went down and I stayed with a week in Buddy in Kenwick, Washington. He had this great big old tree out there that was taking down the power lines, and got a quote. It was going to take him $1,800 US to get the tree taken down. I said, "You got a chainsaw?" Because I'm a mountain man, and I got up there and I took the tree down. Find a need and fill it. It's not about what you can do, what you can't do, or what you can't have, or what you don't have. It's about what you can do, and you don't have to have something. All you got to do is have an idea and show up and start the giving process. That was part of what I did. I had no idea where I was going, what I was going to do with my life at that time, because I just got burned out. I lost my church position and I was in limbo. But I knew, because I was prompted internally to do these spiritual acts. And that was one of the key things, is find a need and fill it. So we can always start the giving process. That's the key. And it'll come automatically. We don't have to worry about that. And when stuff comes, we don't have to say, well, why am I getting this? Because I wanted that. It's just obviously something that you needed to learn, something that you needed to know, and it can be the breakdown of the old. Breaking down isn't fun. It's not good. It is, I'm not going to use any adjectives there. It's blank terrible. I'll let you do this is a fill in the blank thing. We do this sometimes in classes. Fill in the blank. Yeah, it is. And nobody's going to deny that. And it don't matter. Everybody in this philosophy says, I want it for ease and joy. Anybody said ease and joy? Why can't I have it with ease and joy? If you follow the rule and you allow yourself to feel the breakdown and that crumbling, that's the ease and joy, because you're not fighting it or not giving it any energy, because that happens. That's natural. When we can accept that's natural, then the ease and joy comes from being able to move through the process faster and move over into the good stuff and accept that. That's what ease and joy is. It doesn't mean it's going to eliminate that step. Can't eliminate it. Sorry, folks. Not here, not today. Maybe somewhere else with somebody else, not with me. That's not been my experience. So, anyhow, the key thing here, and the closing comment here, is that start giving of your gift of yourself. It could be your treasure, could be your time, could be your talent. But start the giving process in all areas, because you can't outgive God. And be open to the receiving process, and when you get those things that come that seem to be against what you're doing, remember, they're simply there because they're part of the breakdown of the old thinking, the old way of doing it, and the way that needs to be released. So we empower ourselves and bring that goodness by being aware of the process that we go through in making room for the new stuff to come. So I know for you, as I know for myself, that we are open and receptive to receiving the good that the Spirit has to offer us, because we deserve peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. It is our divine birthright, and we actively step forward and accept it and work with anything that doesn't seem like that and allow it to flow through our life into the false nothingness from which it came. So we're empowered, we're prospered, and we're open and receptive, and we know it to be so, and so it is. So it is. And thank you.